Hi, everyone. So we've made an investment in Wooga. Most of you will never have heard of Wooga, but we're very excited about it. And the point of me coming here is to try and actually explain what goes through the mind of a VC when we make an investment and why we're excited in social gaming. So perhaps if we step back a minute and think why. Actually, I'll start from an even simpler position, which is we often assume that everyone understands what VCs do and what a VC is. So for those of you who've never heard about what a VC is, and it happens, we essentially take people's money and invest it in lots of companies and hope some of them make us lots of money, which we return to the people who gave us the money. And we try to really understand industries and segments and spend a lot of time trying to, especially if it's a very young company with very young people with a bit less business experience, try to help them build a big company. So when we think about social gaming, it sort of falls within a category to us which is sort of entertainment. It's a big category. People spend a lot of money to be entertained. And what we've noticed is, if you remember many years back, you were thinking about the traditional model of boxed games that would end up in a store. You'd spend £30, £40, £50, and have 20 hours of fun, 50 hours of fun, and so on. And if I start with one slide, try and guess what those represent.
Game sales.
Share prices.
Share prices. All right, and I've kind of changed the axes to make it look a bit more dramatic than it really is. But these are some of the biggest media companies in the world, and this is what's happened to their share prices. So EA went from about $60 to something like $16. So that means it basically wiped out $15 billion of value in the eyes of shareholders. So what a VC is trying to do is actually not just get lots of numbers of users, or not just lots of revenue, but value within a business. And this was, a type of area that was much hyped for a while, and that's sort of changed. So a very conceptual slide now in terms of, growth and profitability of different sort of genres of gaming. And this is what we just saw, right? The big traditional things. And, Call of Duty, 500 million in 5 days in terms of sales. It's massive. It's the biggest media launch of all time. Does that create value for shareholders? Probably some, but difficult to know, because you actually make a huge investment up front. You wait several years while it gets developed, and then you kind of cross your fingers and hope, hope it works out. And what we've been excited by is social gaming, because it's very innovative for all sorts of reasons, and it appeals to a new demographic. It appeals to a different way of creating games, and sort of you deliver it once, and then you continue iterating that version of a game until you get it right. And at the same time, you can monetize an audience completely differently, and it appeals to very different people and psychologies. So we're excited in this, and this is why a VC would think, wow, social gaming, I should be in social gaming.
Sorry, what is the bottom axis there? EBIT?
So profitability. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, profitability. So what we worry about, so you're not meant to actually see all the names on this graph, but this is, a few years ago, you remember virtual worlds were really hot, and all the VCs were getting into virtual worlds. And then very quickly, there were lots and lots of different genres and appealing to different niches. And so it just meant it doesn't mean that some of these aren't going to be hugely successful, the new ones that are launched, and we see some very innovative ones like we've just seen. It just means from a VC perspective, again, it's difficult to have any predictive ability to know what's going to work and what isn't going to work. So we're a little bit cautious about something like this. So what is the new model that gets us excited? And it's essentially about roughly three things, if we're to simplify things. It's about new distribution, so appealing to a new demographic. It's about and within that category, it'd be new ways to do marketing, new ways to appeal to use sort of viral engines to grow. You're not just sort of taking a box, putting it in a shop, and waiting for people. It's a completely different distribution network. And this is very exciting for us. In terms of lower cost, it means you don't need to spend 50 million developing a game over many years. You can spend $20,000, £20,000, £50,000, and kind of see how it works once you launch it. You launch it early and you keep on iterating it until it works. And innovative monetization. So this is something we've heard many times, but actually sort of the Asians really figured this bit out. So one of the largest companies in the world is called Tencent. It's, I think, number 4 at the moment after Google, Amazon, and eBay, so ahead of Yahoo and the others. And they have pretty much the same user base in terms of people as Facebook. I think about exactly the same at the moment, something around 350 million, so pretty close. But they monetize a lot better. And they do it through virtual goods and so on. And that's something that we've kind of ignored for a while and sort of picking up and catching up with it. We were always around advertising and subscriptions, and those models can still work. So now there's new ways to monetize. So you can still do ads, you can still monetize through subscriptions, the freemium model, virtual goods. And one of the things that I find very exciting about virtual goods is that you can essentially kind of capture value across a wider range of people according to whatever they can pay or they want to pay based on how much value they're getting out of something. So you can have anything from someone not paying anything to someone paying potentially hundreds of dollars on a game. And so you're kind of, instead of having one price point, you've got multiple price points, and you're capturing all that value based on essentially creating something very exciting. So who are Wooga? Wooga have one game, which they essentially released as a bit of a test to get to grips with it. They're based in Germany, in Berlin, and this is they work in this office, which is an old, I think it used to make bread, and it's one of the coolest office spaces in Berlin. And essentially, they have a lot of gaming experience. They were doing mobile games before. The team's been together for a while, and they've recruited some fantastic people. And so Brain Buddies was the kind of first test, no effort to monetize at all, just to kind of understand the Facebook dynamics, the virality, and I think when we invested, they were around 3.5 million users, and it grew to about 6 or 7, and now it's coming back down a bit. But a good learning experience. And it was about quality games that aren't too spammy, that aren't too aggressive. It's not really a Zynga lookalike, but quality games. And so why Wooga? One is the team. And actually, sort of as context, what we want in a social gaming company is an amazing team. I mean, that's the most important thing. And the effort here is balancing creativity with a model that's kind of replicable and scalable, so they can make one good game, another good game, and so on, and keep on optimizing that kind of engine for creating games and marketing those games. And so the kind of science here, we also want to be balanced with the creativity, and that's the challenge, and that's why we spent a lot of time looking for somebody like Wooga, a terrific team. Now they're 25 people from 9 countries. I think half the team don't speak a word of German, but they're fantastic. Their approach, there is a science to their methodology, and I can't tell you too much about that, but the way they develop games is quite revolutionary, we think.